rise above, extinguish fear, rise above, extinguish.
People to see that there are other people making a stand. Now I want to introduce Lance.
Yeah.
Lance is going to take us deep down the rabbit hole again.
Yeah, no pressure. First of all, I really would rather not stand on the bench. I don't want to be talking down to anyone. I want to talk to everyone on an equilibrium, on a level. Alright, I'll speak up. I'm not quiet, I'm just trying to be humble. Right, so guys, I thought really hard and long about what I want to say today, and thank you to all of the new people that are coming to listen to me and the other speakers. Massive thank you to Tracy. I hope everyone votes with their feet and goes and spends some money in the munch this week.
Yeah.
I talk about voting with your feet a lot, and our pound and the way we spend it and the way we spend our attention is extremely important. Don't ever underestimate it. So welcome to All Hallows Eve. 31st of October 2020.
Judgment Day.
Does anybody remember when I stood here on the 10th of October? It seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And I did a speech about a certain circuit company.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into that because everyone's heard it and it's gone around the world and it's still causing me big issues, and the ripples are still coming back. I've been completely deplatformed, shadow banned, fact checked by Reuters, full fact. I've had some really bogus, dodgy, fake journalists trying to get hold of me and find the contents of my laptop. My speech today was written on paper on a device that is not linked to the internet. I will set fire to this after I finish speaking. No one is getting hold of me. I made a prediction in that speech about lockdowns, and I talked about the rule of 666. 6 people, 6 feet, 2 metres apart for 6 months, which was announced on when? The 1st of October, the first full moon of October. And as I mentioned, this is a very, very rare lunar cycle. The last time what's about to happen was in 1955. We have a blue harvest hunter's full moon. A blue moon happens once every 3 years. You know, once in a blue moon, it's rare. A harvest moon happens every harvest time. A hunter's moon is a yearly occurrence. But once, very rarely, you get 2 full moons in the month of October. The first was on the 1st of October, when Boris announced the rule of 666. And I stood here on the 10th and I said, I'm going to make a prediction. I don't care if I'm not wrong. I don't care if I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I predict that by the 31st of October, when the blue hunter's harvest moon is full, the national lockdown will be announced.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
100% accurate.
Yeah.
Because we know that announcements and inactions happens on Fridays and Mondays, and today's a Saturday. Everyone read the papers yesterday. Word on the street that a full national lockdown is going to be announced on Monday.
No, it's tonight. It's tonight.
7 o'clock tonight.
There we go. Guys, I don't like being right. Sorry? You can't hear me. I'm really sorry. Who cannot hear me? Put your hands in the air if you can't hear me. Rise above. All right, I'll rise above. So I predicted that a full national lockdown would happen by the 31st. I'm only a day out. It was not a prediction, it was an observation. The word lunatic, for people that are crazy, comes from the word lunar. The moon is intrinsically linked to our psyche. The restrictions and the rollout of the lockdowns have been intrinsically linked with the lunar cycles. The masters of this know exactly what they're doing, okay? Right, let me move on. So France and Germany, full national lockdowns, yeah? So
Yeah.
I don't want to be right on this, but I was basically right. We're entering full national lockdown. I hardly know where to start today about what I was going to say. I take a lot of time thinking about this, especially to you guys, because you've heard me speak from the start. And this isn't the same as coming up with a different fresh 16-bar lyric for the club every weekend. It's a lot more pressure, okay? I've been doing 4 interviews a week, so I've got to try and come with something fresh. I talk about controversial speech. The Serco ripple is still coming back. It's completely deplatformed me, and it has been taken into the human psyche in the UK. Everybody now is speaking about Serco. I've seen an interview of Sir Rupert Soames getting questioned about Serco. He was asked on some of the points that were in my speech. Whether it come from my speech or not, I don't care. The guy was sweating. Visually sweating on UK TV while he was being grilled about the criminal conduct of his company and its relationship to our track and trace. It is criminal. Okay. So, my deplatforming, I'm not going to go on about that. Let's get down to business. My last speech here, I talked about the do's and don'ts of waking up. I thought it was a little bit of an anti-climax after Serco, right? But it's not about trying to beat the last one. Some people said they found it very useful. Don't call people sheep. Get on their level. Actual good examples of how we can make a change. I had a lot of positive feedback. People also said they liked the meta view, zooming out and looking from further out. My friend in the audience, Mr. Chris Reese, at the start of the lockdown, we've been very close online sharing information, and I started to talk about this zoomed out meta view back in March. I got a lot of ridicule. People said I was clinically insane and dangerous. Now, Chris comforted me. He said, listen, the reason that people can't understand what you're saying is because they're looking at the situation from ground level. But you're looking at it from an altitude of 40,000 feet. Now, whether that's true or not, I take that as a compliment. He was trying to console me. If it's okay with you guys, today, I would like to zoom out and offer you my view. Hello, Dad. They got Barry Murdoch, the creator. Holy shit, hello, Dad. Today, yeah, I would like to zoom out to 40,000 feet altitude and give you my personal view about this. I'm not going to talk about a virus or a pandemic. I know how important energy, frequency, word, power and sound is. And I'm not going to give my energy or my attention to anything that I don't want to give it to. The other reason I'm not going to do it is because every single person here knows that the narrative of the virus and the pandemic is totally finished.
Yes!
It's over. Even people that are still walking down there with 1 millimetre of one eyelid open, know in their subconscious that the narrative is done, dusted, finished, and over!
Yeah!
Now, our uninformed friends are not caught up yet, but they will, and we're going to help them. It is over, but once everybody's worked it out, once COVID-1984 has been completely debunked, I'm sad to tell you that there will be something else.
Oh God, of course.
COVID-21, another virus, a famine, an internet shutdown, a false flag terror attack. It doesn't matter. The architects of the Great Reset will stop at nothing. They will stop at nothing until their plan is fulfilled. The only thing that's going to stop them is swinging by a rope from the neck, strapped to a chair, with 20,000 volts or a lethal injection coursing through their veins. Although incarceration is too good for these people, I find some solace every time I look on Google Maps, Google Earth, and I look at my two favourite spots, Xinjiang province in China and Guantanamo Bay. Yes. Every time I look, Guantanamo Bay gets a little bit bigger. Maybe they know something we don't. But anyway, we're not waiting for any saviours. Nobody is coming to save us. I'm not trusting any plan. I'm here on the front line. I'm doing everything that I can. We're at war, but it's not with a pandemic or a virus. And this is where we get deep. Stay with me. We're at war with an ancient evil. The earthly representatives of this evil over the centuries have had many different names, and they've worn many, many different uniforms. The self-appointed shepherds or guardian of the realm, as they think they are extremely organised and methodical. They plan their agenda decades and even centuries in advance of its completion. They know that the completion of their plan spans way past the end of their mortal coil. It's transgenerational. It does not matter to them. The great work goes on. They meticulously document the modus operandi of their mission and their intended goals. I know this because for 20 years I've made it my daily personal business to search out every single piece of documentation that they produce and read it back to front and have a fundamental understanding of it. They work towards their goals with military precision in complete unison. They operate more like a hive mind. They are not like us. They do not make individual conscious decisions. They're more like a computer. They're mechanical. However, I work with military precision too. Their centralised decision making is a massive, massive weakness. Their total lack of imagination and creativity is a weakness. In fact, they can't create anything. They are totally moribund of creation. They can only imitate. They can imitate, they can copy, they can infiltrate, and they can subvert. They cannot create. This leaves them vulnerable. Once you've got a fundamental understanding of the aims and the methods of these deceivers and controllers, they become so predictable, it is unbelievable. This is how I'm able to expose them in my work so effectively and explain it in a way to people who have never heard it about before. And that's why people are coming up to me and saying, my mum, my dad, my auntie has been red-pilled by your videos. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay? It gets worse. These people are master psychologists. For centuries, they have gained the most fundamental understanding of the human psyche and the way the mind works, to an extent that cutting-edge neuroscience and psychology will be catching up with them, if they're lucky, in a couple of decades. Not only that, their understanding of the nature of reality is so comprehensive, it is literally hundreds of years in advance of the most cutting-edge modern science. What we know about modern science and the nature of reality compared to them, we could write on the grain of a rice. It's a pathetic joke. Now, thirdly, this is the most important part. On top of this, they understand the symbiotic relationship between our human psyche and the nature of reality like nobody else, and our perception. Everything about what is happening is due to the deception of our perception of reality. We've been conditioned for centuries to believe that we are merely observers in this vibrational energy that we all collectively call the universe, yeah? We're merely passengers on the journey, observing the creation. Not so. With a much more active role in creation than we could ever possibly fathom. The deceivers know this very well, and they use it against us at every step of the way. Whether you believe this or not, the deceivers know that we are the creators and the creation simultaneously. If you want, we are the universe experiencing itself from 7 billion different separate points of perception, tricked into separation. This is what they understand. I don't care if anybody here believes it or not. These guys believe it, they know it, they live it, and they manifest it. By convincing us that we are merely randomly occurring biological meat sacks walking on a rock, they have occulted our true nature to an extent that is almost indescribable, and they've hidden the nature of us from us. This is how they've managed to pull a number on us so bad that our poor brothers and sisters are walking around down there in abject fear with a paper mask, restricting their oxygen and recycling their dioxide. That is how they've done it. These people down here, these poor victims, are not our enemies. They're our brothers and sisters, and they are the victims of billions and trillions of pounds invested into this happening. We cannot ever blame them or pity them because of the state they're in. For centuries, this knowledge was easy to occult. They had it so easy. While the peasants were wallowing in absolute abject filth and total ignorance and total illiteracy, and they were in their castles. Anyone that was literate or a scribe was their employee. If there's a printing press, it was theirs. If someone made a library, they burnt it down. This knowledge has been occulted for thousands of years and used against us until now. Yes. Now. In 1983, and bear with me here, this goes deep. In 1983, something was introduced into this vibrational realm that changed the resonance forever, as well as the course of history. Does anybody know what was introduced into our vibrational realm in 1983? What?
Phones. Mobile phones.
The internet. As soon as the internet was introduced, something happened. Has anybody heard of the Schumann Resonance?
Yeah.
If you don't know what the Schumann Resonance is, it's an electromagnetic pulse of frequency, which is the resonant pulse of the Earth. It has been described as the breath or the heartbeat of planet Earth. It was discovered in the 50s and it was measured at a constant resonance of 7 hertz. Every single piece of telecommunications technology on Earth is based on the human resonance. Our circadian rhythm is linked intrinsically with the breath and the heartbeat of the Earth. The Earth is an energetic, living entity that we are intrinsically linked with. I hope you guys are still with me, okay?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Now, the Schumann Residence was 7 hertz in 1950. Whoa. 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 As soon as the internet was introduced in 1983, it instantly began speeding up. As we approached the millennium, it was getting to 12 hertz. Once it was at 12 hertz, a 24-hour day in 1982 could be perceived as 16 hours. So when we talk about in our generation the notion that time is speeding up, it is. Even a quantum clock has recorded that since 1982, 1 year has lost 3 seconds. A quantum clock does not lie. So time is physically speeding up. The sharing of information is physically exponentially speeding up. Human consciousness is exponentially speeding up. In 2017, no, let me go back. It was proposed that if it ever reaches 13 hertz, the Schumann Residence, that time would start speeding up exponentially to cause an event which had never been recorded before. 13. In 2017, the Schumann Resonance was recorded at 36 hertz.
Fuck me.
By the way, there are multiple websites. You can look at this on the graph every day. I check it every single day. Through our circadian rhythm, we are fundamentally linked to the Schumann Resonance, which is exponentially speeding up the breath and the heartbeat of the planet. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Throughout the lockdown, when I had a ludicrous amount of time to research, I noticed that massive events on the world stage and in geopolitics were exactly correlating with huge spikes in the Schumann Resonance. Ghislaine Maxwell's arrest was one of them. It went off the charts. At times, I have attempted even to coincide making my post and my Rise Above videos with these spikes. I want to try and ride the resonance for maximum effect. All assets are deployed against us, so I will deploy all assets against them. Now, the representatives of the hidden hand have had a very easy ride until now. Instead of the information being occulted, right now we have the access to the entire knowledge of the human race at our fingertips, any place, any time, with a speed which is increasing every single day. This is a massive, massive problem. The speed at which information flows and the speed of the evolution of human consciousness is out of their control. It is completely out of their control. It's building up faster at an exponential rate, almost as if it's building to a crescendo, a coming event. Now, the Mayan calendar famously said that in 2012, on December the 21st, it was the end of a 5,000 years cycle, a grand processional event. Does anybody know that on 21st of December this year is the grand solar flash?
6,000 years, isn't it?
2020 seems to me to be a much, much better candidate than 2012. Maybe they were 8 years out. It's not unheard of. Now, it's not just the Mayans. Does anybody study Hinduism and the Vedic texts? We are in the ascending age of the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga ascending age ends, and guess when? 2025, a 2,700 year cycle. In 2025 we enter a 300 year transitional phase to a golden age. What else ends in 2025? Any ideas? According to the World Bank, the COVID-19 84 operation ends on March 31st, 2025. This is from the World Bank. Is this a coincidence? There are no coincidences. There is nothing new under the sun. Everything happening now on a spiritual and energetic level is described exactly in the pages of the Kali Yuga. Does anybody know about the United Nations and CERN with the Large Hadron Collider? Has anybody seen the statue outside CERN? It is of Shiva/Kali, the destroyer and the creator. These people know exactly what is happening. They know we are reaching the age of the Kali Yuga in 2025. The architects of the Grand Reset are desperately scrambling as we race towards this event. What is going to happen is completely and utterly out of their hands. We are in a race to the death. They are in a race to the death to deploy all assets to completely shut us down and shut us off before we reach this event, this energetic event. It's a 300-year transitional period, and we move into a golden age of enlightenment according to the Hindus. Once this vibrational pattern has shifted, the perception schism that these deceivers have created will be complete moribunds. Their dominance will literally crumble. If they weren't losing control, ladies and gentlemen, why are they throwing trillions of dollars of technology to lock us down? It's been very easy for them for a very long time. Guys, I'm going to suggest that what I've just talked about, the speeding up of the Schumann Resonance, the coming of the age of the Kali Yuga, the race towards 2025 and the race by the elites towards Agenda 2030, this is what they call the Great Awakening. The Great Awakening is not a political overthrow, it's not a D-class from a 17th letter on the internet, it's something that's woven into the space-time of the universe. We live in grand processional cycles. It's something that's totally out of the slave masters or any appointed guardian's hands. They know this and they are absolutely shitting their pants. Why would they be doing this? They've been in complete control for millennia. Look how hard they are trying to lock us down. So let's take this down into layman's terms. The pandemic is obviously rubbish. It's a cover for a vaccine program. No shit. So the vaccine program is a cover for something called ID 2020, to put the digital biometric ID on arm. Yeah, stage 2. ID 2020 is a cover for the payment platform for the 4th Industrial Revolution. The economic shutdown is a cover story for the 4th Industrial Revolution and the Great Reset. That's the end, the Great Reset. No, the Great Reset is a cover story. The Great Reset is a cover story for something so monumental that they have to do this $10 trillion plan to try and divert us from it. The Great Reset is their cover story. That's their hoax, that's their pandemic. Because what is coming is so fundamental, they have no control over it whatsoever. I'm going to use a metaphor. We are in a very strange position right now. In 2010, in Southeast Asia, when the tsunami hit, and it killed many, many people, it was a disaster. When all the animals ran for the hills, nobody took notice. There was no warning. The first thing that happened is the sea disappeared. The sea went out beyond sight, and everyone was like, wow, what's this? Nobody knew about the huge wave building. Right now, everybody is dancing in the wet sand, not knowing what's going on. Wow, this is weird. All the information's gone, everything's crumbling, what's going on? And little do they know, there's a monumental wave building, an information wave. And when that comes back down and crashes on everybody's heads, it's going to cause a problem for people that haven't been paying attention. And that's where we all come in. This is going to be our responsibility to hold those people's hands and to pick up the pieces and to avoid them literally being broken. When their world comes crashing down and their whole paradigm literally evaporates in front of them, it isn't going to be easy. We've all got a responsibility, guys.
Yep.
So, I'm going to end on a serious but also an inspirational note. The next 5 years, as we run up to the end of the Kali Yuga, and the 5 years after that to Agenda 2030. However, this is going to play out as anybody's guess. I'm going to be here giving you my best guess. If anybody listens, that's up to them. But one thing I'm going to say, things are going to get very tumultuous starting this week on Wednesday. Whoever you're backing, whatever happens, the result of that election is going to cause mass civil unrest that is likely to spread across the world. On a physical level, I recommend that everybody has a minimum of 5 grams of dry pasta and rice, 10 litres of water, and at least 30 days of tinned food. I recommend that everybody has a solar-powered panel bank. I recommend that everybody, with any expendable income, should have already been buying gold, silver, and cryptocurrency, as I've told you before. Okay? Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Take time with more human interactions. Turn round to the person next to you, look them directly in the eyes, reach out your hand, hold their hand and hug them, and enjoy the human interaction, because that's what they're trying to take away from us.
Yeah, mate.
They're going to try and take away our most basic human interactions. Are you going to let them? No. I don't think so. So, take a break from the screen. Do your research, polish your armour, sharpen your intellectual weapons, but take a break from the screen. I need to take my own advice sometimes. Trust me. So, positive notes. Every day there are tens of thousands of more medical professionals speaking out. Every day I look on the internet, there is another conference, another rally of GPs, virologists and people putting everything on the line to tell the truth. Hats off to them, we need more people like that. There are now too many lawsuits being enacted against various different national governments to count. I physically cannot keep track of how many lawsuits are being enacted against lockdown. It's happening. The tide is turning. Every day they push harder, 10,000 more people wake up. Knowledge is absolute power. If we all know what's going on and we can articulate it to everyone, it ends tomorrow. Right, this is how I'm going to end. The tide is already all the way out. The wave is building. What comes back right now might look like a totalitarian nightmare. I've got a feeling it's going to be the most amazing story ever told. Either way, we are all going to live through it, and nothing is going to stop what's coming. Rise above!
Go on, Locke.
No predictions or prophecies, just scriptures and mythologies. No instructions in the Odyssey. Inhale, exhale logically, part of the tribe. Earn my stripe.